At my shop, got this. If I get the product prepared for this day, at one time, breathe.
You never know when your time is going to come. To rise above the rest. To seize the opportunity. To be crowned a champion. Is it time for your story to be told? The World Poker Tour.
Hello everyone, Matt Savage and Tony Dunst here at the final table of the WPT Venetian Las Vegas Championship. Tony, how you doing?
Doing well. It's good to be here. We've got a very talented final table today, vying for over $800,000 up top in this 5K buy-in at the Venetian.
Which does include that seat to the WPT World Championship in December. A lot to play for here, and these players, for the most part, have not had a score this big that they are getting today already at the final table.
That's right, and we have an entirely international final table here in Las Vegas. No Americans among us.
That's kind of an amazing stat. However,
it is. It's very rare in an American WPT final table.
Yeah, Elvyn does live in LA, but outside of that, he is from the Dominican Republic. We actually have two players from the Dominican Republic, which is also amazing.
Yeah, it is. I believe the first time in WPT
Oh,
history.
the card needs to be here, right?
Yeah. I'm going to go on a limb and say that is the first time.
Yeah.
So you see the chip counts here. In seat number 1, we have Jamie Flynn from Limerick, Ireland. He has 5,025,000. Oliver Bosch is in seat number 2 from Austria. He has 4,925,000. Elvyn Bello from the Dominican Republic. He's our chip leader with 17,300,000. Nicolas Betbese has 13,575,000. He is from Argentina. We have Francis Cruz. He has 10 million in chips, and he is also from the Dominican Republic. And Iulian Betbese, he is from Romania, 6,850,000.
I think we may have gotten an insight into Oliver's approach to the final table there, folding 10-8 of spades on the cutoff. It's a little over 30 blinds. I think he could have gotten in there, but he'll pass, and Bello on the button finds King-Queen. Happy to raise that one to 300K. We're playing 75,000, 150,000 with 150K big blind ante, and it does look like we had a dead small blind that hand, so just the one big blind for Bello's King-Queen to get through. These players settle in for a relatively deep stacked final table. We have 3 players north of 60 blinds, nobody under 30. So I can't imagine anybody will be in a rush.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. I was watching these tables coming down to this final table, and the play seemed pretty good. I'm totally unaware of any of these players coming into this tournament, but I did interview them after the final table, and all seemed pretty confident about coming into today.
Yeah, we were talking to one of our team members on live updates, and he was saying that even watching the play down from the final 50, sifting through the hand histories, he thought that there was a lot of quality play in the field. There wasn't really people taking big, unnecessary risks. A lot of the all-ins that he saw were the type of hands that you'd expect. Meanwhile, Bello with King-Queen here says he's on the cutoff, but I believe he's on the sort of double button after that last hand. He's going to call dominating Flynn's king-jack.
Francis Cruz with 10-9 in the big blind. And he's going to make the call as well.
So 3 players go into this flop. And it is 8-8-7, a decent board for the 10-9 of Francis Cruz. He also has the 10 of spades. I don't know if either of his opponents will be that inspired to bet this flop, but I think Cruz has an interesting hand to check raise some of the time.
Interesting that Jamie Flynn in this hand from Limerick Island owns a poker room, and it's actually called Doyle's Poker Room.
Yeah, for a moment there I was like, wait, Doyle's Poker, didn't that place go out of business years ago? You know, think of the online room.
A 5 of clubs on the turn.
Well, a pretty favorable board for the big blind's range as opposed to the opener and the caller, and I think Francis will recognize that and start betting with his open-ender, especially holding the 10 of spades, a lot of rivers that will make for favorable bluffs. And so our big blind will fire out here.
750,000.
For 750.
One gets out of the way here. Now to Bello, who also lets it go. So a nice play there from Francis Cruz.
Got to make sure to take those pots when the opportunity presents. When you're calling with some of the lower hands, lower cards out of the big blind. Those low boards going to be even more favorable at a final table where players make fewer calls pre-flop with that part of the deck.
How are you? I'm looking me up. There we go.
Services here.
And we were talking before the final table about how I like that our players have some real chips to shuffle, play, and build with here. You're not as much of a fan, man.
Not as much of a fan. I think it slows down the game a little bit, but we do have the action clock in play here, so it shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, I like it to make it a little easier for the dealers and the other players to see how many chips the other players have, and also for the dealers to be able to count those bets. Now, with the action clock that we do have in play, clock's a big topic this summer, Tony.
It is. It has been a very big topic this summer between Martin Cabral and Will Kassouf terrorizing their peers over the course of the summer. Action clocks, time banks have been a frequent subject at the table.
We've had him on the World Poker Tour, I believe, for 7 years now. And, fine-tuned it over the over time, but start off with 15 seconds pre and go to 30 when we're on the bubble, and then at the final table it's just 30 all the way through. And those time banks now do accumulate, so they can have a potential of having up to 20 time extensions at this final table. I'm not sure who has the most now. They should be keeping them out in front, but it looks like Iulian right here does have a fair amount of them. And he's going to call 200,000. Blebea has 9-8 suited in diamonds, and he's up against 9-8 offsuit for Betbese. So we'll see how this hand plays out. I always like these hands, talk about that all the time, where both players have the same hand, technically, and see how it plays out. Position matters in this case. Betbese is on the button.
Not a bad flop for him to follow through. His 9-8 blocks some of the combos that Iulian would call with out of the big blind that give him top pair. Iulian has an interesting decision here because he has the 3 straight and 3 flush, but it is 2 undercards. So not as natural a continue as it would be if he had, say, the Jack-9 of diamonds or the Queen-Jack of diamonds, where he can turn top pairs.
And doesn't let go.
Yeah, he ends up letting it go. I think maybe earlier in a final table, earlier in a tournament, we would see him find ways to continue there, whether by calling or check raising. But at a final table, when you have weaker equity, I like his decision to fold.
800,500 up top, which does include that seat to the World Championship in December here in Las Vegas. A lot of money.
800K is a lot of money, man.
And
It's not easy to win a tournament for 800K.
A lot of these players talked about the prestige and the fact that they would get their name on the Mike Sexton Champions Cup.
Right.
A spot where you're at already, and
Yeah.
you know.
Also not easy to
what
do.
that
Only
means.
about 10 chances a year or
Yes.
so.
Exactly.
Raise to 300,000.
Bello raises to 300,000 with the ace queen. Blebea gets out of the way. And Flynn with king 3 here. Are you defending in the spot, Tony?
Definitely. You defend most suited hands heads up at a final table. The stack sizes around the table will influence how wide you get. But certainly a suited king is going to call under almost any circumstances. So he does go to the flop, and it's a favorable one. Top pair for Flynn.
Check.
Just the ace-queen high for Bello, but a board where I imagine he'll be continuation betting almost always.
See that club gold patch. He did win our last longer. He won a seat to that World Championship for wearing that patch this week and registering for club gold. So congratulations on Bello already.
His week just keeps getting better. He'll be back here in Las Vegas in December.
And he does bet 300,000 now
10 seconds.
position.
Call.
And the call from Flynn. Turn card to 5. They'll hope for Bello here. Flynn continues to check here, and he does. Thoughts on the check?
From Flynn?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you have to check. I don't think you really want to be leading very much here. Bello is the one with the real decision, and I think he should mix betting and checking. I think some of his weaker aces should actually be the ones that barrel a much higher frequency, but ace-queen will occasionally get to showdown and win.
So now with that jack on the river,
Now if I'm Flynn, I'm aiming to value bet. With the jack on the river, it's more likely my opponent has a pair that can call and pay me off, and Flynn should have some missed clubs.
Check.
decides to check it again.
I think with that 3-kicker checking the river, not crazy, but I do think a little missed opportunity to bet there. I mean, a lot of his range that gets to the river is a king or a flush draw. Certainly there's going to be some 9s, and the 9s will want to check. And it's not crazy to check the river occasionally with the king if you think your opponent is likely to overbluff that decision, in which case you have a nice, confident call with the king. But in most cases, I think Flynn will do best by betting the river himself.
Nice pot there for
Yeah. And look, at
Jamie.
final tables, exercising decisions that allow you pot control and lowering variance is really never going to be a bad approach. There's such a strong incentive to just keep pots small, lower volatility, lower variance, and try and ladder up.
I made a limerick for Jamie because he's from Limerick.
Okay.
There once was a sharp Jamie Flynn, whose bluffs were pros pale and grin. He'd raise with pure air like he just didn't care and show rags
Raise.
and
300,000.
still pulling the win.
It's not bad for something you threw together this morning to honor a man's last name. Or sorry, not his last name, his city of origin.
I just didn't know that limericks did not actually originate in Limerick. They originated in England.
So who wrote the first limerick? Who was the guy who was like,
don't know.
I'm inventing this thing, it's called a limerick.
Maybe Doyle Brunson. Who knows?
Bello wasn't quite that old. Well, heads up between two players sharing cards, and they both really nail this flop. It is Jack 10, 8-2 pair for Bosch, top pair, and an open ender for Francis Cruz.
Besh does decide to check there. And it's now up to Francis Cruz.
Bet 250,000.
Does bet 250.
Decision time for Bosch between calling and raising. What's nice about raising the 10-8 is you unblock the top pair. It's going to be some of Cruz's most natural continues.
Call.
I don't think the check raise is mandatory by any means here, and it's also nice to have really strong hands that you can call down with. You're going to get some runouts where it starts to get dicey, and being able to comfortably call the turn and river.
King comes on the turn.
Cruz with a close one here. I like the decision to check. There is some merit to betting, but
Oh, now.
I like the check back, and
2 pair, however.
yeah, not the runout Bosch was hoping for. He'll check one more time. Cruz will check 2 and take this one down.
Tens and eights.
2 pair. Besh can't love that.
No, though in fairness, Francis Cruz had a lot of outs there going to the river. So not the worst beat, and Bosch, by just calling the flop, minimizes the damage. I think had he check raised, Francis Cruz definitely sees a turn, and then it starts to get dicey already when you turn the king. I don't think he would have folded to a turn barrel either. And so, Bosch would have lost a bigger pot had he taken that route.
I put it in.
Yeah, Oliver Besh was actually in the hospital earlier this week.
No.
Yeah, very sick. Didn't know what it was, and they let him out, and he said he just really wanted to play this event. He's been watching the World Poker Tour for a long time, and he said that he just wanted to be here for this event. And so he got out of the hospital and ended up making it here and making the final table.
Wow. Well, guess he's running good.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely
Well
really
enough
good.
to get out of the hospital and play a poker tournament and then final table that poker tournament, and clearly a man who loves Las Vegas culture, as he has the Las Vegas sign tattooed on his arm.
I believe that's the Statue of Liberty above that.
I
so-
believe the Statue of Liberty is covering its eyes, though, so perhaps some political commentary there from Bosch on the State of the Union as he limps in with ace-king in the small blind, looking to trap Bello.
I haven't even had.
And Bello, to me, has a hand I think plays better than a check, as a check than a raise here. I would rather see him isolate better and worse kings.
Raise.
You know, there's some merit to raising king-queen, occasionally getting called by worse, or raising king-deuce, king-3, and knocking Bosch out. King-9, I don't think it's, like, crazy to raise, but it's not my preference.
So he raises to 650. So now, if you're Besh, are you?
All in.
Oh wow.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what you were hoping for, and you don't really want to go to a flop with ace-king as the short stack here.
Time out.
He's using the time extension.
He's the short stack. I don't know that he can do anything else to trap Bello into putting money into this pot. I don't think he wants to call, see a flop, and potentially be outflopped. Yeah.
There you go. He's all in.
All in.
All in for 4,225,000. They're getting a count here.
And Bello is going to posture for a moment and enjoy some Cheetos. All that bluffing worked up an appetite.
225,000.
So Bello does have 16 million chips. 1/4 of that would have to go into this pot if you were to make the call.
10 seconds.
You hear the dealer say 10 seconds. And he does let it go. So Besh wins this pot. Picks up a nice one there. You like the limp there, Tony?
I was just going to comment on it. I really like the limp. When we are around, 20, 25 blinds, you'll see that we're supposed to do some trapping in the small blind with hands like ace-king off and ace-queen off, and use those as limp raises all in. And many players get so excited at the prospect of having a good hand and wanting to protect it in some way and win some win some chips immediately, that they forget to ever limp any hands that can be used as traps like that, and they just raise their strong hands, limp their medium strength hands and fold their weaker hands, and it becomes a pretty easy strategy to play against if you're in Bello's shoes in the big blind. So making sure to lay some traps, as Bosch did there, allows you to limp in and not just let the big blind blast you out of every pot.
Does this now mean that in other spots he has to raise with hands like that, or
No.
just mix it up, or
He should continue limping those hands,
limping? Okay.
but he'll also continue limping weaker hands, and Bello will sometimes need to check behind and let him get to a flop, because as we saw, if he raises, Bosch is live to limp re-raise all in.
So Betbese has the king 7 of hearts. He's going to make the call to 400,000 from Francis Cruz. And we'll go to the flop. 3 diamonds. 8-5 deuce. Need a player with a diamond in their hand.
One of those boards where first guy to breathe on the pot will probably win it. Nice small bet here from Francis Cruz. Just one big blind, and even that, enough to get the job done.
Francis Cruz says that he's super excited if he would win this tournament because he wants the trophy. He wants it sent back to the Dominican Republic, but he says where he lives, it won't be big enough, so he's going to have to give it to his mother, he said, and they're going to put it in their house.
Where he lives, it won't be big enough because he has such a huge house?
No, the opposite. The trophy's too big for his house.
Oh,
he
okay,
said.
the trophy will be too big.
Yeah.
The house won't be big enough.
No, he says he's living in a Airbnb down in
Gotcha.
the Republic, so.
I thought he was like, my place is so huge.
No, the opposite, all right.
But your tiny trophy will not work within my feng shui.
In addition to getting your name on that Mike Sexton Champions Cup, you also get a replica sent to your house. I know you have one.
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I never got the replica.
What?
I never got the watch. I was a year early on the watch. I never got the trophy.
How is that?
I know. I have nothing but my name on a plaque on the Mike Sexton Champions Cup.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He won too soon.
I won too soon. I won a year too early. I won a small one. Mike Sexton loved to tell people, Tony Dunst won the smallest WPT of all time.
It still counts. That's all that matters. And the best day with ace 10 of clubs, it does limp, and we get the check behind from Francis Cruz.
Now here, the best day's limp in the small blind, I think, accomplishes something different, which is these two are among the chip leaders, fairly deep stack. The best day should be limping almost everything he wants to play here. He wants to have a very low variance strategy against Francis Cruz.
Both players flopping a pair here. Aces for Betbese and Jack 6 for a pair of sixes for Cruz Pena. Enough to make him continue with a bet of 200K. We'll go to the turn. It's a Jack, 2 pair now for Francis Cruz.
Now, so far, it has been Francis Cruz's day at this final table. It's still early, but always nice to start off hot. You start thinking to yourself, hey, maybe I'm just going to run really good all day. And a board where Betbese can bet or check. I think his hand is strong enough to merit this double barrel for value and consider betting some rivers as well.
625 is the bet. Now, if you're Cruz,
I would lean towards calling, but I don't think raising would be out of line.
Does make the call.
Yeah, I like that call from Cruz. 5 of hearts on the river will probably cause Betbese to slow down. It completes 8-9. He might put in a small value bet as well, basically like a blocker to try and get calls from worse aces that he's worried could check behind.
1.2.
Oh, he's going a little bigger than I thought he would, and a quick call from Cruz Pena.
And that'll get the pot. 2.225 in that pot. And Cruz Pena creeping up towards that chip lead of Elvyn Bello. Joining us in the booth now, we have the Director of Poker Operations here at the Venetian Las Vegas, Mr. Tommy LaRosa. Hey, Tommy, how's it going?
Matt, Tony, it's great to be here with you guys today. Thank you.
Of course, welcome in.
Tommy, this room is beautiful. A lot of people seeing it for the very first time this summer. Tell us a little bit about what went into putting this whole thing together.
To be honest, Matt, this was like about a 10-year journey. I've been pushing to, get us a new room in the Palazzo for a long time, and plan after plan after plan didn't come to fruition, and finally, with the new leadership here on property, I was able to sell them on it, and boy, once it started to happen, it happened so quick. It's unbelievable how quick it all came together, and the leadership here on property has just been so supportive and being able to give us this brand new room. They did an amazing job in the design, aesthetics, and just providing everything to the poker player that they may want when they come to play poker.
Yeah, I was talking to a lot of people that actually came into the room for the first time for this WPT event, and they just said they love the room. The chairs are comfortable. You have the coffee and the soda machine right there. It's beautiful. And, the staff and the service and the dealers are all wonderful here. So a lot of people will be coming back. So I'm glad a lot of people were able to see this room for the first time. But, yeah, like you said, I'm sure it had a lot of work to putting this together. But on top of that, you have this beautiful studio, which we're watching these players. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, when my leadership came to me and asked me everything I wanted in the room, I laid out, pages and pages of items I wanted, and having this streaming studio was something that I fought for, and instantly they were on board and supportive of it, and it's amazing how it all came together. I think it's a beautiful studio, beautiful space for players to play, and for us to stream these live, not only tournaments, but cash game streams, and just really excited about how everything turned out.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, Iulian here flops trip threes. Pena not too much here.
Not too much.
He's under the gun.
Consider betting here, as he's got backdoor straight outs with the 7-5. If he checks and Julian bets, he'll have to give up his hand immediately. So I like this little stab here for one big blind. Julian with a decision between calling and raising.
Does make the call. Now that 6 comes on the turn, so now Cruz Pena with the gut shot straight draw.
And that will likely inspire him to continue betting. There are some high card hands and backdoor hands that Julian can call the flop with that will have to forfeit facing a barrel on the turn. So I like that Francis is continuing to bet with his now straight draw here. Makes it 500k. That should knock out a lot of Julian's king high hands, stuff he had like queen jack or jack 9 that wanted to peel the flop and see what develops.
So now your Jules here. What are you thinking now?
The board is so dry that if I'm in his shoes, I'm probably still calling. I think if he was going to raise, the time was the flop. Now I think you let your opponent drive the betting. It's really difficult to find hands that would want to bluff raise in Julian's shoes. Maybe something like a 4 or 5 suited. He's just really deficient in hands that make for a bluff raise. And you want to give your opponent one more chance to put in chips on this river when there's so few cards that would scare you from playing a big pot on this river. So now, with the queen, it's worth considering one more bet from Francis. It does get a little tough to represent very much here. Yeah. It's certainly, worth considering. It's just a run out that's a lot better for Julian than Francis. And unfortunately for Julian, I don't think...
He's not going to get a call.
Yeah. He's not going to get a call. But he did maximize how much he got out of Francis by just playing this passive.